What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we are less than, I think anyway, 3 months from next-gen consoles, the Series X and the PlayStation 5, releasing to the public. There's just one problem. We don't know how much they are going to cost. The price is still a mystery, and that's of course led people to speculate like crazy and even look into some strange places to get a clue on the price. And that seems to have happened over the weekend with Monster Energy running a contest that could have given people a hint towards the price. We're gonna go over why that's probably not the case today. Also, Amazon UK went crazy just dropping some interesting titles on their website. One of them set the internet on fire completely with a ton of interest in the possibility of Skyward Sword coming to the Switch. Yeah, guys, we'll talk about all that and more today, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with the issue around upgrades for current gen games to next gen platforms, specifically games that come out like a month before next gen consoles. We of course know what's going on with Control, where you basically have to buy the Ultimate Edition. That's a little off. We've heard from EA that they will have some upgrades with terms, and now we're finding out that Dirt 5 will just have a free upgrade if you are someone who wants to buy into it day one on current platforms. They put this tweet out here that says all Dirt 5 players on Xbox One and PS4 from October 16th will be entitled to a free upgrade to the next gen optimized version on Xbox Series X and PS5 featuring 120 frames per second modes. There you go. Even the PS5 will be ready to go with 120 frames per second mode. Very cool to see that across the board. I think before we had just heard about it on the Series X. Good to see the PS5 will have it. Good to see we have free upgrades here. One that's already been made crystal clear with Dirt 5. I think we're just going to have more developers and publishers just lay out what the plan is here, because some of these games are to come out less than a month before next gen, and that's putting people in a weird spot, because if you don't get that upgrade, you're buying the game twice. I'd rather buy it once and then, be able to move over to that $500 or maybe $600 system. Also, while we're on the topic of Amazon UK putting some games up, they did put one game up that I've already heard it. We talked about it here. I heard about before that is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit from 2010. It's the remaster that EA, I guess, is putting out this year still. It's very strange. I had heard originally that it was coming out this year, but it's August. So are they going to announce it and then it comes out a month later? They might do that, but I like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Amazon UK listed it for the Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch, so there is a very good possibility that this game, I think, is going to come to all platforms, and yeah, it'll be a very quick announcement and then release, right? So the question now is, how good will the port be for the Switch? Because, well, Burnout Paradise was good, it was just overpriced, but if this game shows up the same day as the other versions, Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and all of that, I mean, honestly, it might be really good to pick it up on the Switch. We'll see how it turns out, though. Still a remaster, still we're waiting for it to be announced, I guess, but we keep seeing it being listed by different retailers, and I guess EA will just drop it on Twitter, or hey, if it's going to be on the Switch, maybe they'll drop it in a Direct or something. Oh, and we got word from Retro Studios, and it seemed to confuse a lot of people, but we'll take a look at the tweet that they put out right here. It says, "We are looking for a lead producer to join us on our journey to develop Metroid Prime 4. So I guess that means they are finally underway developing Metroid Prime 4. No, that's kind of what people were a little concerned about at first. They were like, wait a minute, are they just a lead producer? Are they just getting started here? Well, Tanabe is like the producer, it seems, on the game right now, and trust me, there are probably other lead producers based on like what sector of the game they might be helping to work on or just manage mostly. In fact, that's basically what the job description is that you're able to manage and coordinate and all of this. And there's a chance that maybe a producer moved on. Maybe their contract expired and they're somewhere else now. Maybe they had to move. Who really knows? That's the biggest thing here. We don't know the full story to this one. We don't know what's going on in development with this game or the steps they're taking to finish it. They could be adding a lead producer to help get it done faster, but I still kind of think that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a game that comes out very late in the Switch's life cycle. It could even be a cross-gen game for like Nintendo's next platform or something, because I mean, this could be a 2022 late. maybe an early 2023 game. So yeah, but this, I don't think is any indication as to how development is going or even how far along it is. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the Xbox Series X pricing that was seemingly leaked over the weekend by Monster Energy. Yeah, Monster Energy. So this was a weird situation in the first place, mostly because of Halo Infinite's delay. Monster was going to have a big marketing promotion and crossover with Microsoft for the Xbox Series X and Halo Infinite launch. There's just one problem now in hindsight. Halo Infinite got delayed out of this year, so I guess Monster's just kind of hanging out now with all these cans that I'm sure they've already made, all of the marketing they've done. I mean, you see some of the key art here, but they are running a competition. This competition includes the winners of 200 prizes getting an Xbox Series X and a copy of Halo Infinite. Now, the total prize pool value is $119,998. There are 200 prizes, so apparently when you divide that, it comes out to $599.99, which immediately led people to believe, wait a minute, does that mean that the Series X is a $600 system? Well, first of all, it's coming with Halo Infinite. That's supposed to be a $6 value, I assume. So there you go. That would be technically $540 for this. That's a weird price. Maybe we'll just round it down to $500. Yeah, I still think it's a $500 system, but let's double check the fine print, because remember, you always read the fine print. The total ARV of all first prizes is $119,998. The first prize and its manufacturer's suggested retail price have not been released to market at the time of print of these official rules. Any difference between stated value and actual value will not be awarded. That's why I read the fine print, because it sounds like if the system is $500, they're gonna get you for $40, because it's $506 that the value of the six. Yeah, okay. So anyway, this basically says that they don't know the price. They might even be overshooting it a bit at 600 just to make sure that they have everything covered. I don't know, legally, who knows there. But to me, this is, I don't know, there's nothing here. Like, that's the biggest part. Now, I have to imagine it's not fun at Monster right now because this was probably a big push that they had planned for a while now for this holiday. And who knows with Halo Infinite, maybe they'll regroup, you know, next year or something with Halo Infinite for like a smaller promotion. But this would have been big for them. And I mean, we've seen Halo do a lot of promotions with, I think what was it, Mountain Dew. We had Livewire, Code Red. There's a lot of sugar back then, right, for Halo. But we go a little further than this. We also had Alana Pierce on the XCast, which is kind of funny games. They do their Xbox podcast. She had said that a retail worker, I guess, who had some sort of information about the pricing in the system from wholesalers has it marked at $599.99 as well, but she does go on to speculate and maybe even assume at that point that that could be a placeholder, and I would agree with that statement. I believe that is a placeholder, mostly because I've seen a lot of retail listings myself that are just randomly sent to me and they're all over the place. And, well, the biggest wholesaler, I'll say, in the US has it at some crazy, like, $900 amount. And that's common. I did ordering for a lot of systems on the run-up to their release. And I'm gonna tell you now, most times, the wholesalers didn't know about pricing until either the day before or literally the announcement. It really depends on how much is going on in the background. And I gotta tell you, looking at what's going on right now, the only reason I don't rule out a $600 price tag is because no one is saying the price. Like, you figure if it's good news, they're rolling up, they're saying the price. At this point, we've all come to terms with a $500 price for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, so you can just tell us, like, we're ready. It's like, oh, it's $500? Yeah, don't worry about that. I already knew that. But the fact they don't want to tell us is concerning, I would say, right? At least for me it is, because it's like, is it bad news? Because 500 isn't really bad news anymore, but I would say at this time, no one really knows the pricing. You know what? There's a chance that Microsoft and Sony might still be fluctuating. And that sounds crazy because we're less than 3 months out from release. At least I believe with what I think is going to happen with release. Microsoft first week of November and then Sony second week of November. But it's very different. We already knew about pricing at E3 pretty much every generation before. And not this time. Next up, let's talk about another Amazon UK listing that popped up alongside of Hot Pursuit. I had already heard about Hot Pursuit coming out, so that didn't really surprise me, but this one popped up next to it, and immediately I was like, well, I know Hot Pursuit's does that mean that this could be happening too? And the more I thought about it, the more it makes sense. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword going to the Switch. Of course, it was on the Wii and it used some I think pretty interesting motion controls. It wasn't for everyone, and at times it would get kind of annoying and frustrating, but it was at least, I'd say, ambitious at the time. But going to the Switch would probably require a lot of reworking. Now this popped up, Amazon UK listed it for the Switch specifically, and everyone started talking about this because, of course, Skyward Sword, while, look, the Wii was very popular, I don't know how many people picked up Skyward Sword and really played through it or continued to play through it after going through some of the motion controls. If they moved it to the Switch, how would that work? Because if they leave the motion controls intact, will it work on the Switch Lite? No, I guess not, or they'd have to change something up. That's my biggest question here. Can the game work on the Switch as it is without very limited functionality being you need to have the Joy-Cons off the Switch, you got maybe even be docked to make sure you can see everything and it line up right? Yeah, a lot of questions there, but keep in mind, next year, much like this year is Mario's 35th anniversary, and trust me, it's going to really be starting up soon. Zelda, 35th anniversary next year. Wouldn't it be good to have like Skyward Sword come over, or like this big remaster / almost remake if the controls have to change that much? Maybe like a Zelda collection, maybe some deals with like clothing brands like they did with Mario, and then you top it all off with Breath of the Wild 2? That'd be a pretty good year, right? It'd be a pretty good 2021, I think. And yeah, Skyward Sword actually makes a lot of sense. And while this is just Amazon UK, it was kind of out of the blue. Next to a game that I'm pretty sure is also coming out this year, I think Skyward Sword would make a great addition to like the first half of 2021 or even over the summer. But let me know what you guys think. And how would they make that work? That's my biggest question with Skyward Sword right now. How would they get it to work in handheld mode? Next up, let's talk about DC Fandom. That is happening this weekend, August 22nd. We know that Rocksteady will be there with their new game. That's going to be Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And that has actually been confirmed now. And we know that there was another URL that was registered next to it that seems to point to Gotham Knight, the other Batman game from WB Montreal. It's the game that I feel like it's been teased for like a year and a half now. We thought it was going to be at 2 different VGAs. It's been crazy now, right? So it looks like we're finally going to see it. Good news all around, right? Because DC Fandom did post up their schedule, and part of it does mention WB Montreal. And you can see that here. It does say that beginning on 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, they will have a fairly large 20-minute reveal session, and it does say a first look at an exciting new game and Q&A with its developers from WB Montreal. Yes, it looks like they're finally going to show it off, and 20 minutes, I guess they're going to show full gameplay. Now, the latest rumors around this game is that it is just a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X game. I don't know if they moved development midway through, because it feels like it's been talked about for so long that I have to imagine development started a while ago on it. So maybe they started on the PS4 and the Xbox One and they said, oh, nope, you know what? It's going to take a little longer. Maybe COVID kind of knocked them off track for something that'd be revealed even earlier than, I guess, this weekend. But finally, we get to see it. I like the idea of the Court of Owls. It sounds like they're going to have a lot of different playable characters. I assume maybe a big open Gotham, right, that we can run around in. So we'll see more about that, but it's worth tuning in this weekend to see what WB Montreal has with Gotham Knight, and to see, of course, what Rocksteady has for us with Suicide Squad. And in our last bit of news, let's talk apparently about another retail leak. There's a lot of retail leaks over the last, I'd say, 72 hours. It's been kind of all over the place. But check this tweet out here. This is from Private Biscuit that says, possible console revision for Xbox One S. This just appeared in our system at Target. You can see it's Xbox One S, 1TB V2 at the price of $299.99. That is the current price of the 1TB Xbox One S model. But that model's been getting a little harder to find in stores. I actually have not seen one in store in quite a while now. Now, seeing this, V2 does remind me a little bit of the Switch V2. Remember that showed up, had better battery life because it was a more efficient system overall, not because they put a bigger battery in it. But when you went to the store, it was just in a different box, and that didn't say V2 necessarily in its title. That was just for retailers. And that's because not a lot changed on the outside. There was more the internal component, right, with the CPU or the chip itself inside that caused that better battery life. In this instance, I think they're just changing the controller out. I think it's going to be the Xbox One S 1TB with the newer controller that we've seen leaked all over the internet at this point. And, well, the Xbox One S still technically has a place. It sounds weird to say it, but if the Series S doesn't have a disk drive, this technically right here, the One S 1TB, would be an ultra high def Blu-ray player. For some people, that actually makes sense. So I know 300 might be a bit high right now for that system, and who knows, maybe they do like those price cut rebates. That's very possible. But yes, I think this is simply a controller swap for the newer controller, same system, different box, obviously, to show that it's a different controller. And then the older ones will be phased out along with the older controller because they're not going to keep producing it even though they're compatible. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from DP3 saying, if Scott Pilgrim vs. the World does release, I may just wind up double dipping and get a physical copy as well as the digital version on Switch. I really want it to come out. If there is any game to buy physically, it's already proven to us you need to buy it physically, it's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If this game was created physically, originally alongside of a digital release, didn't make sense because I think it was like a $10 or $15 game, then we wouldn't be having the problem we are now, which has led to people just saying, well, there's no other way for me to get it, I'll just emulate it. And that's what's going on. RCPS3, I believe, is like the way to play it right now on your PC. So let's say this happens, limited run announces a physical copy, go pre-order immediately so you get it, because we can't trust any Ubisoft, none of them out here right now with this game, okay? Even if it pops up, who knows what happens with it down the road, but I'm crossing my fingers that it comes back, and I hope that Ubisoft has something planned for it in the next digital event. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today. Whether it's the Series X, what's the price? What do you think? 500? 600? Is 600 too much? I feel like it is. So I'm going with 500 on the Series X and 300 on the Series S. Let me know your thoughts there. And then Skyward Sword, would you pick it up if it showed up on the Switch? And how do they get it to work in handheld mode? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.